Oh,
The air conditioner's on.
how rude.
Yeah.
Okay, Google, air conditioner off. Air conditioner off.
That caught it first and stopped that.
Oh, how rude.
I have legs. And arms. And fingers.
Yes, but how will we ever become like the people on Wall-E if we keep on getting up to turn the air conditioner off?
That's not an ideal to aspire to.
That is true. Okay. Actually, that was good sound, Thomas. Yeah. So balance yourself on the couch like you were just then, holding the microphone. Bit to the left, bit to the right. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure. I'm ready to see exactly what I've gotten us into.
In 5, 7, 9.
Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello, dear listener, and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin, and with me, as always, is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son, Thomas.
Hi, hello.
What have you been up to?
On Friday I bought a litre of sunscreen.
You did? Right. Okay, now, is this different from the sunscreen that you slapped on yourself the other day?
No, this is the sunscreen that I slapped on myself yesterday.
Right,
Yes.
okay. Because it reeks.
Right.
It is really strong-smelling sunscreen.
Right.
Yeah. Was this the Woolies ones or the Coles?
No, this is Cancer Council.
Oh, okay. She's strong.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe when you apply it, you need to do it on the front porch before you go. Because that stuff gave me a headache.
Well, where is it supposed to be
Look,
stored?
It's a weighing up of things. Do you want your father to have a headache, or do you want to get skin cancer? That's the things
It's a
you have to weigh
headache
up.
every time.
Well, that's just selfish. Wow. Okay.
Just not sure where I'm supposed to store the pump bottle.
Where is it stored at the moment?
At the moment, it's under the sink in the bathroom.
Okay, well, you can do that, but just as you're about to go out, or we put it near the front door so that it'll remind people that it's your sunscreen though, isn't it?
Well, see, I tried leaving it near the front door, and Mum said, no, don't put it there, put it somewhere else.
Ah, okay.
Don't leave it there.
Okay, well, it's certainly not going anywhere near the front door.
Yeah.
You'll have to go somewhere else, Thomas.
Mm.
So, how about under the sink?
In the bathroom?
In the bathroom.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's
good.
what I
I'm
thought.
glad we decided on that.
Yeah.
Good move. Yeah, I was sort of in my room and then suddenly, wham! It felt like I was back at a high school athletics day where either your nostrils got bombarded with sunscreen smell or it got bombarded with tanning oil.
Right.
Yeah. This is the 80s, Thomas.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know either.
I don't think I got anything on any other surfaces than the small hole at the tip of the pump.
Good. Other than you glowing in the dark from all the chemicals.
Yeah.
Please understand, dear listener, I am absolutely for sunscreen. I believe that it's vitally important, especially in areas like we are in that have gaps in ozone layers and things like that. Very susceptible to sunburn and melanoma and skin cancer. So please, as they say in Australia, slip, slop, slap, and what's the other one? There's a couple of others that I've added since I was a kid.
I think...
Sunny, something to do with sunglasses as well.
And shade.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sort of gave up on the vowel switching gimmick, I think.
Yeah. We'll put a link in the show notes to the evolving advertising scheme that apparently is world-renowned for being one of the most effective health advertising campaigns in the world.
Right.
Yeah. So there we go.
So yeah.
So you got some sunscreen.
Yep.
Good.
Got some sunscreen. Went for a walk yesterday. Broke the rubber shoelace replacement that was holding my shoes on my feet.
Yeah.
And so had to rejigger things. And now nobody can find any replacements in the house, even though we are quite sure there are replacements in the house.
Probably are replacements in the house. They're in a safe place, Thomas.
Yeah.
That's where they are.
Yeah. Safe from all of us who really want/need them.
Yeah, yeah. And no doubt your mother said to me, now, I'm putting these here, remember that. They're doomed from
She told
the
me
get-go.
a couple of pairs of shoes ago, so, you know, mate, do you want to replace those? I know they're getting a bit old, and I said, no. And I suspect she couldn't have found them then either.
Oh, I reckon she could have. Oh, well, at least your feet didn't fall off. And now all you need to do is just, we'll get the staple gun out, and you just, whenever you go out, you just staple the shoes to your foot. And then we'll get one of those staple removers when you come home and just pull them off again. It's all sorted, Thomas. What else have you been up to?
Dire news after last week informing you that Babbitt and Palmer would not have a party name above the line. They have found a solution, which is hijacking an existing and also dubious party. So Palmer's efforts will be running under the Trumpet of Patriots banner.
Oh, good grief.
Which, you know, sounds more like a newsletter than a political party.
It does, but it's got Trump in it too. They've got a bonus there.
Yeah. The former Australian Country Party, which became the former Australian Federation Party, is now chaired by Clive Palmer. So,
Wonder how much he paid for that.
oh, dunno.
I bet you there's some money being passed left, right and centre there.
And so,
for a domain name, basically, that someone had bought years ago and then hasn't used since.
some websites have been hastily changed and some have not. It has been a bit slapdash, actually.
Oh, dear. Honestly, he's just in it to cause trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Australian government is his plaything.
Well, he doesn't care as long as he gets what he wants with his mining interests.
Exactly.
Which actually hasn't worked out particularly well
Not
for him
very
so
well at
far.
all. He keeps on shooting himself in the foot there.
Yeah.
He should get a staple gun.
And then at the next election, he won't be able to spend quite as much money on it, but still not an insignificant amount of money on it.
That was a joke too.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, that's been my week. I recorded a video while I was on my walk that I can't release yet, so...
Oh, I recorded a video on my walk today.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, are we on to me now?
Yeah, sure.
I can talk about me?
What about you?
Oh, well, it is very... I don't have a lot of things to say about me. I went to my therapist today, and it was an odd time, so I needed to make sure that I was in town on time, because normally I go after my plasma donation, but appointments, yada, yada, yada. So I was in town, and I wandered down to Salamanca Place, which is a historic area that has large warehouses made out of sandstone, so colonial Australian warehousing that has been developed into craft places. So I was sitting there.
Mostly an arts centre and some restaurants.
Arts centre, restaurants, there's a theatre in there, which the backstage is basically the back of a quarry.
Right.
You can actually see the rock face on the back of the stage. Anyway, so I walked there, which was like 5 minutes from where my actual appointment was, and they've got seats, and it was a bit weathery, so I got a seat underneath some cover and was looking at my phone, and then, you hear sirens, and one police car arrives and screech to a halt, and police officers jump out of the car and race in one direction, and then it was almost Keystone Cops type scenario where they head in one direction and then you hear as they realise they're going the wrong way, and they turn around and race the other way along Salamanca Place. And then another police car arrived, much the same scenario, and another police car arrived, and there were police officers everywhere, and all racing in one particular direction. And so sort of moseyed on up there, and they'd cordoned off one of the laneways that go between these warehouses, and stopped people from going through, and it was quite dramatic, and I got some video of that I'm not going to share. But very, very poor timing, because it's a tourist hotspot, and there are 2 cruise ships in the harbour today, and so there were tourists everywhere, all with their phones out, filming these dramatic scenes of police officers running everywhere and police cars screeching to halts. And it was quite dramatic, and I don't know entirely the outcome of what was going on. I do know some backstory from somebody who works in one of the shops in there, but haven't heard the full outcome, so it could be a bit ugly anyway. Other than that, what else?
And at the end of my walk, I was sitting waiting in the park just outside the council building, and north end of the Eastlands car park, something has happened.
You had some drama too.
Yeah, something's happened that has involved fire, police, and ambulance at the very top level of the car park.
Right.
So the fire engine didn't go up there. I don't think it could.
No.
Physically go up there. I mean, there were a bunch of fireys up the top doing something or other. Still no idea what was actually happening up there. Yeah. It looked dramatic.
I neglected to mention that eventually an ambulance arrived and they got a stretcher out, and yes. So, wow, we've both been watching the services in action.
Yeah.
So I had my head shrunk and then headed back into town to catch a bus. I went past St David's Cathedral, which is another grand sandstone building, and I felt the need to pinch a bit of sandstone off St David's Cathedral, so I'm just showing our video audience the piece of sandstone that I flogged from the side of the cathedral. It is honestly from the cathedral. Let me clarify, I'm not a vandal. There's some restoration work going on, and some stonemasons were chipping away at new pieces of sandstone to fit the spaces where old crumbly sandstone has been removed, and I grabbed a chip off what they chipped off. So, bit of a memento there of the Grand Cathedral, St David's in Hobart. Anyway, I digress. Well, I don't digress because I've got nowhere to go anyway there. Let's talk about a film.
Yeah, let's...
We are going to watch a film today. I would like to point out that this is Thomas's choice.
Yeah.
And Thomas's choice only.
Oh, yeah.
He has selected the film that we are watching this week. I claim no responsibility whatsoever for where we're heading in the next months to come. What are we watching this week, Thomas?
We are watching the 2001 film The Fast and the Furious.
That is the first of a franchise of currently sitting at 10?
Yep, with one spin-off.
Oh, there was one spin-off, was there?
Yeah,
what was that?
spin-off film, Hobbs and Shaw.
Oh, are you sure?
I am.
I'm Hobbs
sure.
then.
Which, may be a detour along our route.
With a handbrake turn. Cool.
Yes.
Please tell our dear listener what ostensibly The Fast and the Furious is all about.
Well, it's about family, isn't it?
Of course it's about family.
It's always about family.
It was always about family.
Every single one of them is about family. Except maybe not quite so much in the early days. In the early days, it's more about sexism and slurs.
I do feel there's going to be a bit of cringe happening
Yeah.
as we watch this film.
This franchise does not start on a particularly firm foundation, I've been told.
I've been told too, because neither of us have seen any of them.
And continues to not be on a particularly firm foundation until the 5th film.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've got to wade through the dross
Yeah.
to get to the meaty, succulent bits.
Yeah, it will be June before we experience anything of quality.
Well, fortunately, we will be interspersing it with my fine selection of films.
Yeah. And alternating my selections with anything else.
Anything else. We're pacing ourselves. We're doing it in small doses.
I do feel the need to see these films at some point.
Yeah.
So-
and it has always been in the back of my mind too.
Yeah.
Apart from it's about family,
Yeah.
do you have any more of a description than that you can share to our dear listener?
Los Angeles police officer Brian O'Connor must decide where his loyalty really lies when he becomes enamored with the street racing world, says IMDb.
Cool. All right. We're going to watch it on a streaming service of some description.
Yep. These first 8 are all on Netflix at the moment. So.
All right. So that's where we're going to watch them. We're going to warm up the television. We're going to turn on the set-top box, and we're going to stream it and watch it, and then we're going to come back and talk about it. So we shall catch you on the flip side.
Turn to side B. And
as long as you
C,
indicate you use your tourniquetors.
D and E.
Tourniquetors?
And F and G. H and a half.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
I, J. And then back to A again.
You are such a mongrel. So, what did you think?
There are few greater sins in filmmaking than failing to understand just how silly of a film you are making. This film really wants to be taken seriously.
Very
and
earnest.
It is not a serious film.
There were certainly some laughs that I don't think were intentional.
No.
Oh dear.
Its effects do not hold up.
No.
They are bad effects.
I am car sick, Thomas.
Yeah.
I mean, effects aside, I am car sick. The jerky, zoomed in, pan follow, whiplash.
And it is exactly the sort of film I would expect to be made out of a magazine article about a guy who used to do street racing but has gone legal now.
It did not help that we read the plot synopsis.
Yeah.
Because...
Yeah, when you know that the guy is an undercover cop beforehand.
Yeah. That's the one ace up their sleeve.
Yeah.
And reading the plot synopsis beforehand. Yeah. No, I'm out. Oh dear.
Having seen that, can you believe they made 9 more of those films?
I do find it difficult, especially considering that the thought that I had running through my mind all through that film was I would rather spend that almost 2 hours playing Forza Horizon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care which one.
Yeah.
I would rather be playing that. In fact, I even went so far in my thought process that I would find it more enjoyable watching somebody else play Forza Horizon.
Yeah.
Because they get the balance of setting the atmosphere with the actual action correct.
Mm-hmm.
There was probably half an hour of that almost 2-hour film spent looking at scantily clad women and having doof music and having cars pull up and looking under bonnets and yes, that's the whole whole idea, you know. That's getting to the grit and the No, it's not really. When the cars were actually racing and the screeching of tires and the actual action, it was all right.
Yeah.
Still much more fun actually playing it or watching someone play it, because those particular games do get their camera angles right. But all of that time spent lingering on stuff that just dragged the pace of the film down. And even with all of that setting the environment that this is all, it all felt terribly artificial.
Yeah.
You've got this big aerial shot of all these hundreds of cars with the road to themselves. They do show some small bits where they show how that happens, but it just... when the police turn up, it just doesn't work that way. No, it really doesn't work that way. And I don't know whether you can remember, during that whole initial street race scene, first you've got all of the cars zooming out across that big empty space, and I'm thinking, what is that big empty space? It's just sort of... Why aren't they racing there? if they've got the big empty space, that's where they would probably even get permission to do it. They're off the streets. Anyway, but the street that they choose, it looks almost as if, also in that aerial shot, that you can see huge spotlights on top of one of the buildings shining down onto the street to give it enough light. It wasn't a street light. It looked a lot like a huge set of floodlights, all aimed so that from one spot, but filling a length of that road, which was also the spot where all of the on-street filming appeared to be shot, because it was like daylight for those. And certainly if that's what was happening with that aerial shot, if they were huge floodlights, you're going to get that much light. Oh dear.
Early 2000s yellow.
Punch the yellow. Come on.
At the very beginning, they have a shot where they are pulling out of this truck that has all these DVD players in it, because DVD players were a hot commodity at the time.
Yeah, they were.
They pull out, and there's a moment when the colour grading is actually good, just as they're coming out of the truck. But no, we have to go right back to yellow again.
Well, they had to get the colour grading right, because it had to show the DVD blue of the boxes, and the yellow would wash that blue out.
Yeah.
Too bad.
I can see a normal-looking sky for a moment.
Was that a bad film, Thomas?
It's not a good film.
It was really bad.
And I regret to inform you that as far as I'm aware, things are going to get worse before they get better.
But what's really frustrating is that I do want to see the next film. Yeah. Because that ended a lot like that's where it ends. And then I guess it must have done well at the box office, and so, okay, can we clamber for a sequel here? Well, we've possibly killed off this guy, and we've possibly done this, and we've possibly done that. How much retconning can we do to pull it back together? There's certainly... sorry, I'm possibly being a little unfair. There's a lot of uncertainty as to the state of a whole heap of characters. Mm-hmm. There are two of which we know are fine and are alive. But there's even bad guys there was a brief look at a body rolling in the ground from a distance, but even that person could still be alive. And, anyway. Okay, maybe they were planning to do a sequel all along. Maybe I'm not as smart as I think I am. What's the term of that? The something effect, where somebody is so not smart that they think that they're smart.
Dunning-Kruger?
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm suffering from.
Right.
Yeah. They have a cunning plan, Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they can get over the fact that there are people out there that think that actually playing a computer game would be much more fun.
Now, the post-credits scene might give you the impression that, maybe trying to set something up with Vin Diesel's character. No, he does not appear in the next film.
Right, okay. So...
they had to make a short film before Too Fast, Too Furious in order to explain how we get where we're getting.
Hang on, what's the next one we're seeing?
The next film, in 4 weeks, is Too Fast, Too Furious.
And what did they make a short film for?
They made a short film to try to link where we've ended up with where we're going.
Right. And when you say a short film, is that shown before Too Fast, Too Furious? Or is it a pre-scene?
I think it might have been shown ahead of Too Fast, Too Furious.
So, do we get to see that?
I don't know. I'm gonna...
Otherwise, none of this is going to make sense, Thomas. Yeah. If we don't see this mythical short film that makes it all make sense, it's not going to make sense, Thomas.
No, it's called The Turbocharged Prelude for Too Fast, Too Furious.
I'm sure on the streaming services, on the DVDs, they release that with Too Fast, Too Furious. They must do.
Just pull it up on YouTube.
Buy the comic. the graphic novelette of the prequel to the beginning of the sequel of the... Anyway, my only other note is what a waste of a Chekhov's car.
They set up this beautiful black car with the exposed engine sticking out the...
I think that was a Hemi semi-quaver sticking out the bonnet of that car.
Out the hood and get into a chase, run one guy off the road, and then get T-boned.
I can imagine all the crew going, yes! Oh, that was fabulous! And then when they're cutting it, they're going, it was all right, but was it adequate payoff for setting up the whole Chekhov's car at the beginning? I don't know. Anyway.
If you introduce a car in the first act, it must be totaled in the third.
Yeah, but totaled to achieve something is my way of thinking. Yeah. But it really didn't.
No.
It really didn't. Oh, dear. Yeah, but I'm still looking forward to the sequel.
Well, come back in a month and I'll bring it up for you on a completely different streaming service, because apparently they're all leaving Netflix
They're all leaving Netflix. Yeah, you timed this run well, Thomas.
Yeah.
Good upon you.
I'll have to check that they're not also leaving Prime, but...
Well, that gets one rubber chicken from me. Anyway, do you have anything else to say about The Fast and the Furious?
No, I think all that can be said has been said.
Yeah. Could it be that those games that were made well after this was made, that were completely riffing off the Fast and the Furious franchise. Is it that case of watching the newer stuff and thinking, this is really good, and then watching the older stuff and thinking, this is really bad, when in fact it's just an evolution and you're being unfair?
Well, the problem with Forza Horizon are very mechanically sound. I do enjoy playing it. The plot is paper thin.
Oh, the plot in Forza Horizon?
Yes.
I don't play it for the plot.
Well, good. Because...
look, I fully agree there, but the plot is to progress a game rather than to entertain. That's not the source of the entertainment. Mm-hmm. Whereas in a film, the plot is meant to be, to a certain extent at least. Shall we move on?
Yes, let's hear what some other people are saying about different things.
Okay, we'll move on then.
The following segment has no title. Thank you.
Our first other person over on Facebook is Helen.
Hi, Helen.
Random comments, lengthy post, possibly sorry. And then
it's
dot
a novel.
points.
Hang on, I've got to flip my phone up sideways. Okay.
I should have sent Thomas's birthday present to that plus code address thingy. Your present is somewhere between Ross, Kingston, Triabunna and New Norfolk. Lucky for him, I know where he lives.
Dear listener, I do ask you to look on Google Maps at Tasmania and draw a square between Ross, Kingston, Triabunna and New Norfolk. Firstly, I don't think it's actually a square.
No, it's a rectangle.
Yes. It's a fairly large area.
Yeah. Oh, I've had 2 or 3 of those try not to think about my bladder moments while giving plasma. Getting the timing and quantity right for prehydration is very difficult.
Okay. Big giveaway. Look, I can't remember whether I gave this giveaway last week or not. Back when we could do platelets here in Tasmania, which they stopped doing during COVID because platelets only have a 3-day shelf life and you can't freeze it. And suddenly when you've got airports shut down and trying to get platelets from Tasmania to anywhere else was just impossible. So they stopped doing platelet donations down here. But I used to do platelets, and you're in the chair for about an hour and a half to do a double platelet donation. And usually I was all right with that. Have I shared this story?
Don't know.
Anyway, so I'm in the chair one day to do a platelet donation, and then suddenly just got this overwhelming need to pee. And I think, I can hold on. But it did get to a point where they'd completed the first platelet bag and the machine had switched over to the second one. And I had to say, no, I've got to stop. And so they unplugged me, and they were very grateful that I'd got the one bag done and a bit of plasma that doesn't go to waste either. But it got out of the chair and raced to the toilet, and there was nothing. I was basically having a panic attack.
Right.
Sitting in the chair. I'd never had any problems with doing platelet donations before, and when I say that, I've even done a platelet donation where someone passed out next to me, and they had to call an ambulance. And I mean, he was fine, but he was having heart issues. But sorry, that's not fine, really.
No.
Anyway, but I'd had those scenarios. But yeah, for some reason on that particular day, I basically had a panic attack, and the way that my body decided to get me out of the situation, in quote marks, was to tell my body that it needed to pee. So, yeah, got to the toilet, and the need just completely vanished. There was nothing there. And, yeah, Isn't that a story worth the sharing?
I don't remember hearing that story.
Well,
so...
it must have been worth the sharing then.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, platelets, weird sensation because it takes a whole bunch of electrolytes out of you, and then they try to top you up, and that can give you weird tingly sensations and weird metallic tastes in the mouth. And some people get that a bit with plasma donation with the stuff they return to you, but platelets were next level. They would actually give you quick ease tablets.
Right.
To give you back calcium really quickly, because it's got to do with calcium imbalance, and when you add the calcium in, it reduces those effects. So there we go. Sorry, please, Helen, go on.
Point 3.
Point 3.
Given how few movies I actually watch, this podcast is very useful for deciding what not to watch, even among the vast collection of movies that I'm not going to watch. You see, this way, I know the names of some of the films I'm not watching, whereas there is an extremely large number of films that I'm not watching whose names I will never know.
Dear listener Helen, we'll have to get you to make a spreadsheet of the ones that, seeing as we don't actually score the films, we'd need someone to make a value judgment of our value judgment and give it a numerical figure, I guess.
Point 4. I loved hearing from Sailor Starfishy. Thank you for waving over the parapet. It warmed my heart.
Yeah, it warmed ours too.
Point 5. Ooh, bonus arbitrary point for me. Yay, and yay to Dunkel.
Yeah, we gave you a yay last week, so we'll take that on notice.
Point 6. My favourite ice cream flavour is hand-constructed at Cold Rock, a macadamia nut ice cream base with a Tim Tam biscuit and real raspberries crushed in. Nom.
I don't know whether you've experienced Cold Rock ice cream.
It might have happened once on a high school book club excursion.
They have a big slab of cold, traditionally it's marble, I think. But with ice underneath. It's really, really mega cold. And then they throw all the ingredients, including actual cream. And I think I've only had it once, and it's a very, very long time ago. But yeah, they use what look like paint scrapers to mix all of these ingredients that basically freeze on the surface of this marble and mash them up. So what were Helen's ingredients? Tim Tam, raspberry,
macadamia nut ice cream.
nut. Right. Okay, so they use an ice cream base. All right. Sorry.
And Helen's 7th point is a guess, so we shall be moving on.
Okay.
Over on Spotify.
This is our first Spotify comment. This is exciting.
That hasn't been filtered out by Spotify beforehand.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been a couple that really aren't saying anything much at all, really, so I'm not surprised that they were filtered out.
So it's got an auto filter, has it?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That filter out saying first and buy my stuff and things like that. Caitlin, we believe you're real.
Spelt with no actual letters. Or at least no Latin letters.
I can see Caitlin there, though.
I think that K might be taken from Cyrillic, possibly.
Yeah.
Can you guys do the new Wicked movie, possibly? Not forcing.
I'm keen. However, it's not streaming here anywhere.
It is rather recent, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So I shall add it to the list of films that we need to watch.
We'll come back to this one, possibly.
We shall. Yeah. Yep. We have done a musical in our time. That Christmas, what was the name of it?
Anna versus the Apocalypse?
Yeah. I think that's the only musical that we've ever done.
I have to go back and look at the list. Yeah.
All right. But noted. Thank you, Caitlin.
We move over to YouTube, where we find M.
Hi, M.
You can't go wrong with vanilla ice cream. Personally, I prefer caramel mixed in. Can confirm this podcast is a good way to figure out what and what not to watch, even if I likely wouldn't have seen a good amount of the do not watch films either way.
We are a filter. Good. Now, do I need to get you to say caramel without an A? You drop the A because large swathes of the US pronounce it caramel.
Well, I live in Australia, and I am an Australian,
All right.
so until such time as I am required to put on an American accent,
You shall call it caramel.
yes.
Good.
Staying over on YouTube, Dunkel.
Hi, Dunkel!
I didn't check what that symbol next to the name means. Possibly a frequent commenter?
Mm.
Wow, this is the second podcast of this podcast cycle 2. This is very specific. Have a tiny YouTube audience, and a second commenter other than me post a comment. I'm amused.
It must have been the week for it.
You know, we always talk about how this podcast is fairly niche.
Yes.
And a bit rambly.
A bit, yes.
And not especially listened to.
No. Not especially entertaining.
But on the other hand, there is a fairly popular podcast that I listen to called Play, Watch, Listen, which is described by one of the hosts as the middle hour of a 2-hour conversation. The three regular hosts will get to chatting,
Yep.
and then eventually someone will turn the recording on, and that'll happen for about an hour, and then they'll turn the recording off and continue chatting for another half an hour.
Well, let me make this perfectly clear. During the week, Thomas and I do not speak to each other at all until I hit the record button.
Well, that's mildly exaggerated.
It's pretty close, though.
When we ask each other what we've been up to, we are genuinely asking.
Yeah. We got no idea.
And
I did know that Thomas did go for a walk
yeah,
one day. But only because of that sunscreen smell.
and also because I messaged you when
your shoe died.
Yeah, should really find those. They're called hickeys.
Yeah.
Should really find where we've stashed
which is
those.
kind of amusing because one of my Facebook friends liked the Hickeys Facebook page.
Right.
And it came up as such and such likes Hickeys. And there is another meaning of the word hickey other than the shoelace substitute.
The hickeys lacing system.
Yes. Anyway.
Speaking of things that try to take themselves seriously and really aren't.
Anyway, we've got some guesses.
We do have some guesses.
Yes.
We have 3 guesses.
We do.
Our first guess comes in from Helen, who says, I'm going with others for this week, without the definite article.
Mm-hmm.
The definite article being the. So it's just others, OTHERS, and it is incorrect. Dunkel goes with tvs, that's TOTHRS, 6 letters, which, you know, in another time might have been correct.
Yes.
But in this time is not.
No. In this bright world of the future, we now have the option of 8 alphanumeric characters.
An option we always had.
Yes, but weren't aware until we were.
Yes.
And now we are.
And finally, from M, we have the others. That's THEOTHRS.
Which I like.
Yeah.
I really like that one.
It is 8 letters, and it is all the right letters, but not in the right order.
No, I'm looking at what I came up with, and that's what I would have gone for if I'd put more thought into it, which I didn't.
No. No, you've put the E in the wrong word.
So I got others. Thothers. Or if we're going to go with the silent H in the TH like Thomas, it's others.
So, alas...
And a lack.
No points.
No. Sorry.
Nil point.
We shall put them into next week's episode. It rolls over. It's like... You have to remember that now, Thomas.
Isn't that needlessly arbitrary? Speaking of arbitrary, could you show me that screen there?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, you're probably very curious about this one.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Good luck.
When I was looking at the screen and looking at the name of the film, yeah, I stumbled.
Dear listener, think well outside the box on this one.
Yeah. If you're imagining you're parking a car and you've got the line either side, I'm in the next space over.
Yeah. Some of those letters are definitely in the name of the film, in that order.
Oh, dear. I think we shall move on.
Yeah, that seems like a good plan. Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed. Well, with all that in mind, can you possibly salvage this fortnight?
Well, look, I'm going to go for a film that I haven't watched, that I've been wanting to watch, that has always sort of slipped down behind films that have popped up and I've just immediately watched.
Yeah.
So it needs to just get put out of the way, all right? It is a film that came out in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
It is a science fiction film, which is going to be given away by the plot synopsis that I'm about to start delivering to you.
And all I know about it from the brief glance that I've seen of your phone is that it starts with the word "the."
It does indeed. All right. Here we go.
Not very helpful otherwise.
Amid a future war between the human race and the forces of artificial intelligence, a hardened ex-Special Forces agent grieving the disappearance of his wife is recruited to hunt down and kill the elusive architect of advanced AI.
The creator?
Yes, you're absolutely right, but I've started, so I shall finish. Hunt down and kill the creator, the elusive architect of advanced AI who has developed a mysterious weapon with the power to end the war and mankind itself. That's what we're watching next week. It's streaming on Prime here in Australia. I think it actually might have been made by Prime. It did get a theatrical release, but I've got a feeling it might have been
This might be an original. No.
I was making that up?
No, it seems to be 20th Century Studios.
Oh, okay.
Which is...
Huh. I just
distributed by 20th Century Studios. It's Regency Enterprises, Entertainment One, New Regency, Bad Dreams co-production.
Right, so it did get a proper theatrical release rather than a token theatrical release.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I just don't remember it running very long here.
But despite being a 2023 film distributed by 20th Century Studios, it's on Prime, I guess.
That's how these deals work,
Yeah.
or don't work. Anyway, next week, we are watching The Creator. We hope that you can join us, but until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us, in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
Sorry, I wanted to get that in before the clock ticked over to 1 hour.
Yeah.
I think it reflects again the theory that the worse the film, the longer the podcast.
It just has to be bad in interesting ways.
It was just bad, Thomas. Sorry, my brain just went through an engine just then.
Uh-huh.
Through the air intake and
Big CGI engine.
Yeah.
Now, was it one with bits breaking off
yeah,
of
yeah,
it?
yeah. That inexplicably made the floor of the car drop out.
Mm.
Yeah, good.
So that one, and not Dominic Toretto's car that then gets T-boned.
They kept going though. Both of them kept going, even though they had. Yeah. Anyway, I'm stopping, Thomas.
Yeah.
I am stopping. I'm pulling a handbrake.